Welcome back. We talked about this earlier in the show, the push to make America healthy again. President-elect Donald Trump vowing to fight an quote, epidemic of chronic diseases that he's described as an existential threat to America's future.
Joining us to talk more about that is Dr. Frank Contessessa. He's an internist as well as a member of the Custom Care Medical. We're also joined by Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. He's the president of Jasser Center for Comprehensive Care and a cardiovascular disease physician. Welcome. Oh, we're about to get into it. I feel healthier already. Welcome to First Edition.
Great to have you. So former presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is on board to help President-elect Trump fulfill his plans to get America's health humming. Kennedy saying he sees a common threat to a broad series of illnesses, with the federal government standing by and watching it happen. He's been tasked with helping end what's being called a chronic disease crisis. So I'll start with you, Dr. Contessessa. What's the first step to making this happen?
Well, I think the first step has already started, and that's bringing awareness to a lot of these issues that people are starting to realize that we do have a crisis in this country. We're surrounded by toxins. The food industry has deliberately designed foods that make us ill, that are more addictive. So I think the first step has already started, just bringing awareness to that. I say seed oils now, and people have at least an idea of what I'm talking about. I've been thinking about the specific role for Robert Kennedy here. And, you know, he was pushing for head of HSS, Health and Human Services. But, you know, I was thinking maybe they could have something analogous to the DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are putting together. The equivalent of that for the health industry. It's sort of like an oversight where he can look and say, how can we improve things? Because we have to get the big pharma money out of health, because the big pharma is influencing the CDC, it's influencing the FDA. So it might be interesting to have him sort of on an outside role where he can oversee and make improvements that way.
That's an interesting idea.
You know, Dr. Jasser, we just met this morning, but 14 years ago when you didn't know me, I was eating those triple bacon cheeseburgers, right, with a double order of fries and a large soda. Why? Because when I hear about people jogging, living a healthy lifestyle, and then dying of a heart attack, I'm like, look, let me just live it up. But something happened. As you get closer to 50, and now I'm 5 years past 50, I started eating a little healthier, right? So what can you tell some of our people, and what would you tell or advise RFK Jr. in his approach to bring about healthy eating? Because as far as I know, the pyramid that people used to go by, this is fundamentally flawed by some doctors, according to their opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for mentioning that. I think it's so important that we realize that, you know, politics is always downstream from culture. Healthcare is downstream from culture, and our healthiness, if you will, is. And ultimately, it's about a way of life. It's about focus and transparency. And I think what RFK brings, if you look at all the work he's done on transparency and what's hidden in our food products and sort of the binary approach that our society has had so far about health, you know, you're either exercising like a weekend warrior every day or you're not. Well, we're realizing that simply 45 minutes a day of a fast run in zone 1 or zone 2 exercise, increased heart rate can add 5 to 10 years to your life as you also begin to slowly decrease the artificial foods you put in. So really make America healthy again is about transparency and the chemicals that we're putting in, holding the medical cartel accountable. Remember how we got here? We went through a COVID pandemic where the Fauci and other institutions of the world that were in the establishment told my patients, told our families what we should prioritize in healthcare. And it's time to have somebody who really understands the dangers of weaponizing healthcare, shutting down businesses, telling us where our priorities are, and beginning to reorient that culture upstream from politics so that we have our priorities right. Like you said, it's not just only what you put into your body, but how you treat your body and what type of foods and medicines we put in.
That's such a good point, too, about Dr. Fauci, because RFK Jr. was one of the first to come out against Dr. Fauci and his advisements. I mean, he spoke at it at great length with Joe Rogan on his podcast. Dr. Frank Contessessa, how do we instill trust in government agencies who are dictating or maybe influencing our healthcare? Because clearly trust was lost with everything we learned about Dr. Fauci and his recommendations.
You know, that's an interesting question. And I've lost a lot of faith in institutions like the CDC and the FDA, institutions that I used to put a lot of faith in. And it's going to be hard. And I think we have to almost start from the ground up, because I think a lot of patients have even lost faith in the medical industry and in their own doctors, because, you know, doctors like me and Dr. Jasser have had to follow a lot of these recommendations. And a lot of doctors have lost the ability to be free thinkers. Early on in COVID, I kind of broke with the Fauciites early. And I realized that there was something amiss during COVID, and we were being lied to. And I was going against the medical orthodoxy. And I would tell people, listen, you're young and healthy. I don't think you necessarily need to take this COVID shot. And they'd be like, really? Because every other doctor is telling me that I should. The CDC is telling me that I should. Why are you telling me differently? And I would have to really get into a long conversation and explain, listen, I've looked at the data myself, and it's been hard.
Well, you know, Dr. Jasser, I think that there's going to be pushback. Many of these industries, they use these artificial ingredients because it's cheaper, possibly readily accessible. And I see the lobbyists coming in. And that's part of the problem, isn't it? In terms of these organizations that manufacture all these bad and unhealthy goods that people love to consume, they won't want to actually go down the healthier route, which is better for America. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, again, as the establishment gets apoplectic and start gaslighting us about what RFK can do and cannot do, at the end of the day, his leadership will be about transparency. It'll be about the fact that this is the best healthcare system on the planet. We got here because we questioned authority, because we stimulated ingenuity, and it took a while. None of us are anti-vax per se, but this was a brand new technology, brand new vaccine. It's not like the tetanus and the flu vaccines and others that have been around for decades that we've had testing and other ways to prove to patients that they're not harmful. It's brand new, and yet we were coercing our patients to take it, and it really was unethical. And I think it's time to have, you know, what our government is. It's by the people and for the people, and we need to basically convince them, not force them into treatments. That's how we got the best system in the planet. Let's not destroy it by continuing to weaponize healthcare like the left has weaponized everything else. And I think now, thankful to God that President Trump got elected, we can now begin to turn around that aircraft carrier and change back to control of healthcare and to the families of America.
Well, it's clear that I'm not a doctor, but I prescribe to America: eat healthier.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Because that is the best medicine. And watch Newsmax, right? Watch Newsmax. Guarantee you'll be healthier. But check with your doctor for the right dosage. Dr. Frank Contessessa, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, thank you for joining First Edition.